David Stone is a registered representative on Lincoln Financial Advisors Corp., a broker-dealer member SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. Stone Consulting Group is not an affiliate of Lincoln Financial Advisors.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Mike Gray Real Estate Hour, heard every weekend on AM 1380. I'm Mike Gray from Morris Williams Realty, and my co-host for this segment is David Stone from the Stone Consulting Group.
Hi, Mike. It's great to be with you, as always.
Oh, I appreciate that. David is a new show partner for us here in 2017, and he is a great addition to our team. We're so happy that you are here because David has a book out called The Power of a Plan.
Power of a Plan. Yes, we love it.
When I met David last year through a mutual acquaintance, and we kind of walked through it, he gave me a copy of his book, and it was probably one of the easiest reading financial planning books that I have read.
Well, that's great. I'm happy that you enjoyed it.
Yep, and I also like the fact that now I firmly believe that you need to be diversified in your retirement financial planning, but real estate should be a significant part of it because of all the tax benefits and the long-term financial benefits for it. And David and I are on the same page when it comes to that.
Absolutely. It's a surprise. Sometimes think, all he wants to do is put me into the market. But yeah, which market?
Yes.
Right? Real estate market, bond market, stock market.
I mean, there's so many different ways to invest some of your hard-earned dollars.
Absolutely.
And I think, as I have shared with our listeners many times, that diversification is the key.
It is. Absolutely.
And that real estate should be considered a part of that plan. And then the chapters that you had on real estate were very well written.
Thank you.
He's right on here. I enjoy that. And
great minds think alike.
Well, some minds think alike. I don't know for sure if we're great, but how about some minds think alike?
Average minds think alike.
But I'm probably one of the few realtors that whenever I go to a listing appointment, we'll sit there and talk, and I'll say, well, let's look at the possibility of not selling this house and maybe adding it to your retirement portfolio because real estate's a great way to increase your income stream as part of your retirement years.
It is. And, when I think about, in Chapter 2 of the book, it talks about cash management. And real estate can play a part in that.
Yes.
It can actually be a income-generating asset instead of just being an expense. Sometimes people think, my real estate is going to be a big expense. And in some cases, it can have a negative cash flow. You have to be careful of that. But in reality, when you're looking at what are my needs, I like to start people in that basic area. I don't like to call it a budget. I'll call it a spending plan.
Okay.
Right? So how we get to spend, look at the positive side of that, right? So understanding someone's cash flow and what they're spending their money on. So there's different areas. There's your fixed income, which might be your salary, for example, if you have a job. Right. If you're self-employed, then it goes up and down, right? Like we were talking about in an earlier segment today. Then there's the variable income. So you might get bonuses if you're an employee of a company, and then based on how the company does, you might get a bonus. So those fixed and variable income streams, you have to really identify those. Real estate income in a rental property, in some cases can be fixed, but then when you have the tenant move out, you might have some additional expenses that have to come in to get the house up and ready for the next renter, for example. So your spending plan should include some of the basics, like what you're spending and your expenses. So your fixed monthly expenses, so we talk about income, but then there's their expenses. So your fixed monthly expenses are going to be things like the mortgage payment, things like a car payment perhaps.
Correct.
Things that you can earmark specifically. This is what I'm spending on this. It's going to be the same every single month. Your variable expenses could be things like your utilities and your groceries, or maybe the gasoline expense, and some that goes up and down based on how the guy at Arco or Shell or wherever.
They ask you to pay.
That's right. They say this is what it is, and you say okay, or I'm going to drive down the street and try and get it cheaper, right? So you've got those variable monthly expenses. Then you have your non-monthly fixed expenses. For example, like your insurance. So if you have a life insurance policy, you pay it once a year, your premium, you have to kind of budget for that.
Correct.
I don't want to use that word budget. Let's see. You have to plan what you spend for that, right? So there's your fixed non-monthly expenses. Then you have your variable non-monthly expenses, things like home maintenance. Maybe you got a leak in your roof. I don't know, just as a random thing.
Right, because it's been raining quite a bit.
It's been raining a little bit in January. So it could be your home maintenance, charitable contributions that you might want to make, or gifts to family, or other spending that's not really monthly, that comes up once a year. I know that Christmas is a really big time for me and my family, with my big family of 5 kids, 2 grandkids, a couple son-in-laws. They keep us busy. So then there's that. And then there's the invisible expenses. Now, The leak in the roof is actually an example of an invisible expense because you don't really plan on it, or the water heater going out, or the tires that wear down just a little bit more as you actually are driving to work, to and from, or on vacation or whatever. So those invisible expenses, you have to plan for those. And if you don't, then you have challenges. And then the last part of your spending plan should include planned savings. Now, I say the last, but reality is it should be the first.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first. Take money and put it in your pocket and give the rest out, and you'll find at the end of the month you'll have enough to live on. I have a client of mine who is struggling with this, and she came to me, and she was overspending. And, in fact, we did a spending plan and identified that she had a deficit. And we looked at her credit cards and realized that she had been living off of her credit cards.
Okay.
We were talking earlier before the show about somebody that you know that got a new credit card and was a 29% interest.
And they were so happy.
They were like, I got a new credit card.
Yeah.
What's the interest rate?
Well, she didn't know until I helped her kind of look at it, and also we realized what it was. I said, you need to shred that card. That is not a good credit card to have.
So later on, this person had a little bit of savings, and she said, what should I do with this investment? I want to invest this $20,000 I have sitting here. And she's carrying a balance of over $20,000 in her credit cards. And I said, I got the greatest investment for you. You want to know what it is? It's the perfect investment. It's guaranteed to get you 29.9% interest, and it's tax-free. Are you interested? And she says, that sounds like an amazing investment. That'll help me get out of my cash flow woes. And I said, oh, okay, so we're going to invest $10,000 in this investment called Visa, and $10,000 in this investment called MasterCard, and it's going to be wonderful. You're going to make, I almost said save, but really the reality is she's going to save that 29% or 21% or 18% or 9%. If you think about that and the tax-free yield that you're getting by saving, you know, those that understand interest earn it.
Right.
Those that don't understand interest do what?
Well, they'll pay it.
They pay it, right? So we don't want them to pay it. So that's some of the basics of cash management that I wanted to bring up today. And there's different types of good debt and there's bad debt, and it gets into the tax deductibility. But in the end, when we work with a client, we're wanting to help them make decisions and how those decisions affect their overall plan.
And this is, this is where your book about the power of a plan, just the whole title, it really gives us a great insight into how valuable it is to have a plan.
Absolutely.
I remember when my family was first starting out, I detest making lists. I detest putting together a budget, or making together this plan. But until I did, there were so many more months that the month was longer than the bank account.
Right. And you ran out.
And I ran out. And where did it go? And I couldn't even, until you actually sat down and started to realize your budget, that the finances were starting to drag my family down. All right. And then once we put together a plan, we could see a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, it took a couple of years to kind of correct some of the mistakes that we had been living in for the previous 5 to 10 years. But then all of a sudden, by having a plan and putting the pieces together, and not that we met it perfectly every month, but it gave us the guidance and the structure to be able to move ahead financially where our money could start working for us instead of us always just working for money.
Right.
And so there's where your book and all your ideas are just so valuable for our listeners out there.
Well, you know what? Let's do this. I will, for the first 5 callers, give away 5 autographed books by the author.
All right.
5 books to your first 5 listeners. How's that?
That would be great. So all you got to do is give me a call, 530-431-8586. I'm going to put you in touch with David, and we'll make sure that you get a free copy of this book called The Power of a Plan. Again, I've read it. It's very easy reading. Sometimes when I read some of the financial planning products and stuff, after I get beyond the first 2 or 3 sentences, it's beyond my expertise, and I kind of pretend I understand what they're talking about. But yours is written in such a way that every layperson could understand it and put together a plan that will really work for them. But the thing I really want to emphasize to our listeners out there, and I have shared this many, many times, that when it comes to something like investments or purchasing real estate, you need somebody right beside you who you can trust. We have Bobby Appel from the Appel Insurance Agency. He handles a lot of our insurance for our listeners out there. I'm not going to read the insurance plan. I'm not going to read all the investment portfolios. I'm not going to take the time to become an expert on that. But I am going to team up with somebody who I can stand right beside, and I trust what they tell me to do. And that's what David Stone from the Stone Consulting Group will do for you. So if you're interested in talking to him, I'm sure he'll glad to give you a free copy of his book. He will schedule a free consultant for the first time. Give me a call, 530-431-8586. I'm going to put you in touch with David. We'll be back right after this break.